Well, hello everyone, I'm back for another update. I haven't been here in a while. Today is Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. My truck is down for repairs again. I was on my way from Portland, Oregon to Easton, Maine to load my stuff up to get moved down to Virginia, and the truck acted up on me again. Thankfully, they have not given the load to somebody else. I really needed to get up to Maine to get that done. I am currently in Youngstown, Ohio. And I'm going to talk about this winter, how the weather was definitely manipulated on numerous occasions. On numerous occasions, we had severe weather outbreaks that were manipulated. In similar way that the hurricanes I mentioned in previous videos are being manipulated, what they appear to be doing this winter is twofold. One, they're trying to knock the snowfall down, and two, they're trying to increase the severe weather outbreaks. What they appear to be doing is splitting weather systems apart by cutting off flow of air into low pressure systems so that the moisture doesn't wrap around as much. It cuts down on the snowfall amounts where a storm should have put down a couple of feet of snow, perhaps only maybe 3-4 inches come out of it instead. And then when that system is split in half, they fire all kinds of energy at the southern part of the system to get severe weather to develop where it should not have normally developed. Also, back in December, they did appear to be manipulating the MJO in such a way that it created record warmth in the east. But the byproduct of that they could not control is record warmth in the east brought record rainfall to the west, which they did not want to happen all winter. They were forced to switch their strategy to get the west to dry out, but then doing that, the east got colder. And so we could see on numerous occasions that they manipulated the low pressure systems moving across the country, as I said a few minutes ago. They also manipulated the jet stream pattern. It appeared, at least from my observation, that most of the polar vortexes and cold air this winter was directed intentionally out into the North Pacific via eastern parts of Siberia, across Kamchatka Peninsula into the Pacific, and then swept eastward harmlessly. At least they think harmlessly, and I'll get into that in a minute why it's not harmless. Also, the North Atlantic, we had numerous systems, bomb cyclones just off the east coast that never really affected the East Coast. Just were seemingly harmless low pressure bombs affecting only the ships offshore. So in spite of that, it's still, we had it in the northern plains, and it was a really, really severely cold winter in spite of them funneling the worst of the cold air over the North Pacific. It appeared most of the winter. And there were a couple of occasions it did affect the Pacific Northwest with record low temperatures. The cold air made it that far east from Siberia, coming across the Pacific south of Alaska, and slammed into the Pacific Northwest on at least several occasions. Alright, how are you? So it, as I said a few minutes ago, that is not harmless. The reason why it is not harmless is what's going to happen is the North Pacific is going to get cooled, and that is going to affect the weather patterns in years to come. In terms of a colder North Pacific, more of a La Nina pattern, less warm water to work with. Because once that North Pacific gets cooled down, it's going to be very difficult to warm it back up. Due to the low solar activity. Again, the next thing I'm going to get into, we are getting into solar cycle 25. Many predictions are that it's going to be more stronger than the last one. The interesting thing about this cycle is sunspot numbers are way up, but the cosmic ray count isn't coming down much. The reason for that is because sunspots that are there aren't putting out much energy, not putting out as much in the way of flares. So we have had a number recently. Compared to a normal cycle, it's still been below average. Cosmic ray count is remaining high, and of course cosmic rays produce more clouds and has a cooling effect on the planet. And they have not been really going down much lately, like they should if we're entering a new solar cycle. It'll be interesting to see how high the count remains during this next solar maximum, how far back down it goes, or if it will even go down much below 5% above average. The last cycle it did get below zero for a few years before coming back up as far as 0%. And this has a cooling effect on the planet when the cosmic rays are coming in above average. The net effect is to cool the planet due, again, to increased cloud cover, less solar radiation making it in. In addition to the effect of less solar radiation in general cooling the planet, that's a feedback that adds to it. So of course, the spring has been wild swings in temperature. Here in Ohio, it's been in the 40s or 30s. We had snow a couple times earlier in the week, which is unusual for April here. So, as far as the severe weather outbreaks, normally we should not have had much of a season this year up to date. There has not been enough contrast to create the kind of severe weather that's been occurring. So it is definitely getting enhanced considerably. But again, what's the net effect of that going to be in the long run? It's going to be to accelerate the cooling of the planet, as I've been saying. Will they be able to artificially fire up hurricanes this year in the Gulf? It remains to be seen, but the reason why they've started enhancing severe weather is because severe weather in recent years has been on the decline, which does not agree with their narrative. Global warming, they supposedly say, leads to more severe weather, it leads to more extreme weather, it leads to more heat waves, and they're trying now to say more cold temperatures. As I've said in my videos previous, true global warming would lead to a benign shift in the climate to less storminess, less extremes in temperature, overall warmer but less extremes. Because the jet stream would take a straight west to east flow, would retreat northward. And with that kind of pattern, you cannot get extremes. It would be a very even, benign weather pattern. And yeah, it would lead to some aberrations, like the Dust Bowl 30s was a product of a slight warming of the globe because the high pressure sat over the continental U.S. the whole summer instead of further south. I had touched on that in previous videos. What we're seeing with these extremes is a symptom of global cooling, not global warming. And even the Dr. Roy Spencer admits that the temperature had fallen back to baseline or average globally from the satellite measurements. There is no real global warming going on right now, according to what the actual data says. So where is that going to lead this summer? With the volcanic eruption we had back in January, Tonga, it's going to lead to a net cooling of the planet, which will be felt within a few months. It will be felt this upcoming winter. On top of all the other effects I've been describing, that's going to add to it even more. This volcanic eruption put aerosols up into the stratosphere, and usually there's a lag effect that usually takes 6 months to a year for an eruption to fully affect the climate. So that is going to end my update on the weather situation, climate. Hopefully my truck will be fixed tomorrow and we can continue on to Maine and get this load delivered and then get my move to Virginia completed. And the way the climate's going, I'm glad I'm getting out of northern Maine. It's been 20 below for weeks this past winter up there, wreaking havoc on plumbing, on pipes, on heating systems. I'm glad I'm getting out of there because it's going to become the norm every winter, very likely. That'll be it. I'll be back with another update. Take care.